Ontario Regulation 54506, and that was 3 weeks ago that the notice went out. Here's the brief agenda for what we're going to be covering tonight. Just want to welcome everyone to the meeting tonight and thank everyone for participating in the public process. It's important to share your feedback and to be part of your community to find out what's happening and find out how you can get involved and how we can all help make the community a better place. So after we do a bit of an introduction, to essentially go through some of the basics of what's being proposed in the amended application here. We're going to give the applicant an opportunity to speak. Township will weigh in with a few additional comments after that. After that, we'll give folks an opportunity. Anyone that's here tonight to formally speak in favor of the proposal will be given an opportunity to do that. Also followed by that, we'll give an opportunity for anyone wishing to speak against the proposal will be able to have an opportunity to do that. Whether you may be speaking in, if you're just here to listen, that's fine too. We'll allow an opportunity for individuals to ask questions. If you will be speaking in favor of the proposal or speaking against the proposal, we will ask folks for your full name and local address, just so that we can keep in touch and make sure that we're tabulating the results when this is presented to council. This will likely end up being presented to council at Monday night's meeting, Monday the 14th, and that meeting would be starting at 6:30 p.m. We would offer an opportunity to anyone that may wish to attend that meeting via Microsoft Teams to email myself. You could feel free to, you would have received the email from me earlier in the day today. Feel free to respond on email if you would like to attend that meeting, and we will be sure to include you on the Microsoft Teams invite if that's a meeting that you'd wish to attend. So a few advisements here just for everyone in attendance. Do take notice that if a person or public body does not make an oral submission at a public meeting or make a written submission to the Corporation of the Township of Augusta before the bylaw is passed, the person or public body is not entitled to appeal the decision of the Corporation of the Township of Augusta to the local planning appeals tribunal. And take notice that if a person or public body does not make oral submissions at a public meeting or make written submissions to the Corporation of the Township of Augusta before the proposed bylaw is adopted, the person or public body may not be added as a party to the hearing of an appeal before the local planning appeal tribunal, unless in the opinion of the board there are reasonable grounds to add the person or public body as a party. If you wish to be notified of council's decision on the proposed zoning bylaw amendment, you must make a written request to the Township of Augusta. If it's easier for you to email me directly, you could feel free to do that. You could also email our clerk, Annette Simonian, and her email is asimonian@augusta.ca. Here's the brief process, how the zoning bylaw amendment process works. We receive an application, we have an initial review, followed by a peer review with consultants and various commenting agencies. After the proponent addresses initial comments, we have a review process that continues. We have a public meeting tonight. We do want to just note that no decisions will be made at the public meeting tonight. That would happen at a future council meeting, which as mentioned could be Monday, likely will be Monday. We have an opportunity to review public comments such as those that were received tonight to inform a planning report that would go to council for their consideration before making a decision. We have an opportunity for peer review and for additional agency comments as well. This proposal has been before the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee, and as noted, it will be going to a council meeting, at which point there will be a 20-day appeal period following council's decision. Just to reiterate the Planning Act requirements, if you want to have some role in a potential future appeal period for this, and there has been an appeal date, this is a file that it has an appeal in process. There is an LPAT, Local Planning Appeal Tribunal date scheduled for September 30th. Anyone wishing to participate in that can feel free to contact myself, and I would forward you the link to join that online. It will be a go-to meeting session that's going to be held and run by the LPAT group. So you would to be participating in something like that as a party that would be able to offer information, you'd have to make an oral presentation at tonight's public meeting, or otherwise submit some form of written communication, a written submission prior to council making its decision. And again, you could send that to myself, or you could send that to our clerk, Annette Simonian, at asimonian@augusta.ca. Then just to reiterate, there's a 20-day appeal period following council's decision. So here's the site location we're talking about. It's 1898 Merwin Lane. It's just south of the 401. and just north of the CN tracks that are north of County Road 2 and the St. Lawrence River on the west side of Merwin Lane, which is just the eastern edge of the parcel is less than a kilometer away from the town of Prescott. You can see their boundary toward the east side of the image. So what is being proposed is it changing from the rural zone that it presently is to a rural destination zone. And this is intended to repeal and replace bylaw 3449, 2019, which was approved by Augusta's council in December of last year. Approximate area that we're talking about is about a 254-acre parcel. Just want to inform folks that a number of studies were undertaken as part of the justification for the zoning bylaw amendment, the 2019 one, including a traffic statement, environmental impact statement, preliminary hydrogeological and terrain study, hydrogeological and terrain study as well, and the findings of these studies have been deemed to be applicable to the new amendment, notably the hydrogeological report and terrain analysis. And these studies have all been previously reviewed by the various reviewing agencies. So what's being discussed here, we've got a couple of shots here on the left side. You've got the lands that would be zoned RDH, a rural destination holding zone, except for this image on the right, which would be an environmental protection zone, which is essentially the area that borders Bradley's Creek that runs through the property. So another key point to highlight here, given the key concern of the adequacy of on-site private sewage and water services, that's the reasoning for placing all uses in a holding zone under Section 36 of the Planning Act, and that would be subject to the provisions of Augusta's official plan for lifting the H or holding symbol to permit the land uses to proceed. Here's a conceptual site layout of the AquaWorld site. You can see the resort/water park roughly in the center of the image, and then a number of highlighted features of the original image, spa. We've got cottages listed, sport courts, stormwater management facilities, quite a number of different facilities and amenities being proposed on the site. The main resort building is proposed to have a gross floor area of approximately 226,000 square feet, with about 100,000 square feet devoted to an indoor water park. The development proposal for the property will include a range of rural land uses, including new permitted uses that are being introduced, including agricultural activity for local food production, cottages and villas for accommodation, and an integrated tourist commercial resort complete with a variety of recreational amenities and overnight accommodations. The main building would include conference areas, retail space, a restaurant and units for overnight accommodation. An overnight spa and miniature golf area will also be included in the development proposal, and cottages and villas are intended to be located around the resort. The phasing of development is being changed from the original focus to develop the water park complex first. The lands for this component of the project will be reserved for that purpose. The revised phasing would see development occur more toward the south end of the property as the initial focus first. Just to give you a few of the highlights here, what's highlighted in yellow represents the changes from the originally approved rezoning amendment that Augusta Council approved in December of last year. New uses being added under main uses or being moved in some cases to the main or primary uses. Agriculture use for food production, condo hotel, condominium, and villas. The other uses remain. And under accessory uses, the two that have been added there are accessory dwelling and recreational commercial establishment. At this point, we'll just go through a few of the definitions for some of these items that are being proposed. So two of these that are being proposed for main uses. Agriculture use for local food production. This had been proposed as an accessory use originally, but now it's being thought that this would be better to include as a primary use. So how the definition has been adjusted slightly is now it's meaning they're growing, cultivating, processing, and or production of fruit and vegetable crops, apiaries, and small animals for on-site or local use, and includes greenhouse and hydroponic facilities, vertical farming and fish farming, small-scale farm uses that align with the tourist operations, or the provision of foods for the hotel and or tourist commercial uses shall also be permitted. Condo hotel means a hotel in the rural destination zone that is divided into individual units under the Condominium Act to facilitate ownership of individual suites or units. Cottage means an alternative form of housing that supports seasonal or year-round accommodation, is self-sufficient in terms of servicing or connected to the larger servicing infrastructure, and includes a minimum gross floor area of about 300 square feet. This definition does not include a mobile home as defined in the zoning bylaw. There's a flag lot that's being introduced, so imagine a lot with a quite a large flag on it, a large flag to greet everyone to the property. Flag lot means a lot with two distinct parts. A, the flag, which is the only area to be used for the building envelope and is located behind another lot, and B, the pole which connects the flag to a public street and provides the only lot frontage for the lot. The pole and the flag are to be registered as one lot only. Health Retreat Center had been included as a use in the approved application. What's being added here is provision for medical services and facilities, including medical practitioner, and noting that a health retreat may also be used to provide medical treatment services and facilities and to provide accommodation in the event of an emergency. So should a COVID-19 or a COVID-27 emergency ever happen again at some point in the future, there would be some accommodation built in to allow for individuals to be assisted and serviced at a health retreat on a site. Recreational commercial establishment means an establishment, premises, or building where any recreational, social, or cultural uses are operated commercially for profit on lands in private ownership, such as health clubs, sports field, concert, outdoor theater or movie venue, off-road and recreational trails, golf courses and mini-putt, driving ranges, open or enclosed skating or curling rinks, open or enclosed pools, open or enclosed badminton or tennis courts, squash courts, bowling alleys, gymnasium, bandshell or open theater, place of amusement and other similar uses, but does not include a casino or bingo hall. And then villa means a self-contained unit that includes up to 5 bedrooms and common kitchen facilities, which can be rented or leased for short or long periods of time. A villa can be a freestanding unit or can be linked, stacked, or connected together with up to 8 villas. Here are some of the, just in yellow, highlighted, some of the zone requirements that are being changed. Minimum lot area being adjusted to 8 hectares or 20 acres. Minimum lot frontage for the flag lot that's being incorporated is 15 meters. And then maximum height for a building going up to 6 stories or 45 meters. Number of parking spaces, there's been a minimum number of spaces introduced for both the cottage and the villa use of 1 space per unit. Highlighting here, this is from the proposed bylaw. Additional zoning provisions, what's being added to the water and sewage disposal system section is a note that the cumulative water demand and sewage disposal quantity for any and all development in the rural destination zone shall not exceed the carrying capacity of the property as determined through a hydrogeological study and terrain assessment or through the provision of a municipal water and sewage system with residual capacity. So at this point here, we're going to just open it up to the applicant. That will be either Stefano Ferrante, who's in attendance at the meeting tonight, or Tracy Zander from Zander Plan. If they may wish to speak, I'm going to just stop sharing my screen. And I did hear a couple of beeps as we went. So for anyone just joining the meeting, I'm Myron Belay, Township Planner with Augusta Township. I do see there has been a comment introduced in the... There we go. Yeah, so one point that should be made is that this meeting is going to be recorded tonight. So we'll just invite everyone to be on their best behavior. And once again, thank you all for participating and thank you all for coming. So we're just going to see if there are any hands up at the moment. Not seeing any. Just going to open an opportunity here for either Stefano or Tracy to speak.
Good evening, Myron. It's Tracy Zander from Zander Plan. I have not great rural video and audio, so I'm just going to try audio if that's okay, if you can hear me okay. Great. Thank you for the detailed description there. Appreciate that. I'll just briefly add to that. As most of you know, a bylaw was passed last fall after a public process to place the Aqua World zone on this property. That was passed by council in December, and as Myron mentioned, it is under appeal. So a new bylaw has been, a new zoning amendment has been filed, and so it's written as rezoning the property from rural, which is what the current zoning is now since the Aqua World zoning was appealed. So from rural to rural destination. And Myron's given you kind of the highlights. The underlying Aqua World uses that were proposed in that bylaw that council passed last year are all still in this proposal, but the developer has added some uses to kind of meet the changing times, primarily as a result of COVID, I would say, but also to meet some of the demands and the benefits for opportunities for community benefits. So Myron mentioned agricultural use for local food production, for example. community gardens. So those are a couple of the uses that we've added or expanded in this rural destination zone to meet some of the community needs. We've also proposed to expand the residential style or residential elements of this. So cottages and villas that Myron has talked about would allow some short-term tourist style accommodation, but would also have the potential for some longer term rental accommodation, small units available to the community, and the COVID pandemic and the need for people to find short-term housing has really been an impetus for this revised zoning. We changed the name of the zone from Aqua World to Rural Destination, since it is proposed to cover a broader range of uses than just the Aqua World, just the tourist commercial water park use. So we've proposed a new zone called Rural Destination and expanded the uses. The servicing is probably one of the things that people are most interested in. How would this site be serviced, particularly with expanded uses? And Myron pointed to a section that's in this draft bylaw that's highlighted that has been added, but it essentially says that the water demand and sewage demand on this site can't exceed the carrying capacity of the site that's already been identified through the background studies. And the site is subject to site plan control, and there's a holding provision here. So what does that mean in English? When the developer is ready to develop some aspect of this development, he has to file a site plan application, demonstrate appropriate servicing for whatever that element is, stormwater management and other details, and execute a site plan agreement. So there are some checks and balances there. The servicing capacity is not unlimited. It has been studied, and that was in the original hydrogeology study. So the development on this site, if it builds out, when it builds out, can't exceed the carrying capacity of the site that we already understand. There are some provisions in this draft bylaw that would allow for the property to be divided up if the developer decided he wanted to do that in the future. One of those is that provision that Myron highlighted that talked about flag lots. And the reason for that, I don't know if Myron, you can put up maybe the figure from the bylaw that shows the extent of the property, but most of you probably know there's a little bit of land towards the south end of the property that comes out onto Merwin Lane between some existing houses. It's about 20 meters wide or so. So the provision for a flag lot, right, would allow for the division of this land to create a lot at the south end and use that access point out onto a Merwin Lane as a lot, if that makes sense. That whole south end of the property is inside the settlement area. So it might make sense to divide that piece off in the future. There are no plans for that at this point, but we wanted to make sure the provision was built into this bylaw. And as Myron pointed out, the whole site is subject to site plan control and a holding provision. So if this gets approved by council as an element of the development proceeds, it is subject to site plan approval at that time. So I don't think I have anything else to add. Stefano is here as well and may want to speak further to his vision for the future of the property, but I'll leave it at that and certainly happy to answer any questions that arise.
I think I'm good, Tracy. If anyone has any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Sorry there, folks, got our mute turned off. Just want to give everybody, Stefano has offered an opportunity to answer questions. If there is anyone that does have a question, a couple of options, you could actually turn on your video and physically wave your hand. And another option would be toward the top of your screen, beside the icon that looks like the little bubble to show conversation, there's a little hand icon. And if you click that, that would be the digital way to raise your hand. We'll just watch for anybody that may wish to ask a question at this point. We'll be happy to take everyone in turn. Fair enough. Now, there may be questions later on in the meeting, so I'll just, we'll certainly open the door again if anyone has additional questions to ask. Sorry, 1 second. All right, folks, I've got to mention for anyone that's just joining and missed the starting of the presentation. Sorry, Stefano, I think that the audio may be giving us a bit of a feedback loop. Would you be willing to just click the little icon? Okay, thank you so much. We've got one question here, and it's more just maybe an opportunity for a combination of Stefano and or Tracy to speak to it. Mayor Doug, would you like me to just read it out, or would? Yeah, and I'll just comment. Sure. So for folks that earlier in the meeting here, we had mentioned that this particular application has gone before the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. Generally speaking, no real concerns raised to major portions of the development of the site. However, one item that's been captured in the minutes that we just wanted to go over and essentially allow an opportunity to clear the air and for the applicants to be able to speak to this. Captured in the minutes of the meeting, committee expressed some concern that the zoning bylaw amendment is a little ambiguous and that they could, in theory, use the entire property for one classification, for example, a trailer park. So one of the allowable uses, the primary uses, is for a recreational vehicle park. From a planner's perspective, I don't believe that in any way it would make sense from an economic standpoint for anyone to develop a 250-acre RV park for the sake of discussion. But was there anything else, Mayor, that you wanted to add on to that, or would we just give them an opportunity to be able to speak to it? Sure. So the mayor would like to give a little bit of context. I'm just going to swivel the monitor around and give him an opportunity here to speak to that as well. If we could just, Mayor, perhaps say a few words, and we'll just see if everyone can hear you all right.
All right. Can everyone hear me? Certainly welcome to everybody. I'm not seeing any hands that are not hearing, so we're fortunate that our clerk was able to get out the minutes to the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee. Again, Myron has read out a concern that was raised. I thought appropriate to raise it with Stefano and with Tracy tonight because although it was the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee meeting, the committee members who raised it did not make a link at the meeting to a particular agriculture and or rural affair concern. It was, at least it appeared to me, that they were just looking at the additional categories that were there and expressed this view that has been read out by Myron here. And I thought if Tracy and or Steph would want to comment on this so that essentially when council looks at this, we would have the benefit of your comment. So consider yourself responding to the individuals who raised that the concern that the current ZBLA is a little ambitious and could in theory be used in theory, could use the entire property in one classification, i.e. trailer park.
It's Tracy Zander here. Perhaps I'll take a stab at that first. Yes, there are, I don't know, a dozen or so main uses that are proposed in this zone. So I guess in theory, yes, any one of those could be used on, it could be the only use on the property. I suppose technically it could be used, the whole property could be used for a recreational vehicle park as an example. However, you still have the constraints that come with the servicing capacity and the environmental protection zone and the setbacks and all of those other things that come with that. I don't know if the economics of having a huge recreational vehicle park would make sense here, but I guess in pure zoning, any one of those main uses could be the sole use on the property. Yes.
Not a question.
Thank you very much, Tracy. Any other questions at this point? Just before we go on to the rest of our program, as noted, there'll be another opportunity later on in the meeting after additional content is covered if anyone else wishes to ask questions at that time. So just do a quick scan of the chat box and not seeing anything there. And just going to do one more quick check of the participants list to see if anyone has their hand up, and not seeing any. So what we'll do then, we'll just continue on with our program here, and thank you very much to Tracy Zander for giving that that information, that good context, and for answering that question there very succinctly. I'm going to just share my screen here again. All right, and we just get a quick vote there. Are we seeing the screen? Are we seeing the PowerPoint pulled back up again? If someone could wave in on that, please.
Yes.
All right, thank you so much. So we'll just keep moving on forward here to the section on township comments. And Glenn Tunnock, who is noted, is a consultant that has been has several decades of experience in the planning field, very well versed on the ins and outs of the Planning Act, and had reviewed this on the initial go around. Myself, I started with the township in December, and so prior to me starting, Glenn had reviewed the initial application, and the township felt for continuity purposes it would be best for us both to be involved, but Glenn has provided a more formal review of the application, and here are a few of the highlights. Glenn has indicated that the proposed development, in his opinion, complies with the general intent of both official plans, meaning the United Counties of Leeds and Grenville official plan and the Augusta official plan, subject to ensuring that the land uses do not exceed the carrying capacity of the subject lands with respect to on-site water and sewage services. Site plan control under section 41(7) of the Planning Act will be used as the planning tool to ensure compliance with servicing, protection of the natural environment, and land use compatibility. His summary indicated that the development proposal will optimize the use of the land base, which is currently underutilized, without compromising essential planning principles, notably the wise stewardship of water and the natural environment. The development provides an opportunity to leverage the land base to provide localized food production and the diversification of the economic base through catering to the tourism industry. Planning tools will be required to monitor and direct development to ensure that the proposed land uses are appropriately integrated into the surrounding rural landscape and land uses. And thus his recommendation to close this analysis and the report was that the application for the repeal of the Aqua World zoning amendment and the replacement with a rural destination zone withholding provisions be passed by council, and that is a conclusion that I myself concur with and agree with as well. So at this point here, we're going to open an opportunity. Anyone that's here tonight, well, give an opportunity first for those that wish to speak in favor of the proposal formally, that wish to have their first and last name noted on the record, and local address listed on the record, that would wish to speak in favor of the proposal. After that, we'll give an opportunity for folks to formally register to speak against the proposal as well. So we would just ask, I'll flip back out of this screen here, but just to leave it up there in clear verbiage, please raise your hand, either turning on your video and giving a bit of a wave, or if you could click the hand icon toward the top of the screen if you wish to speak in favor of the proposal. And as noted, when invited to have your turn to speak, for the public record, please state your full name and municipal address. I'm going to just end the screen sharing here and flip back. So I do see one hand so far. All right. Well, we'll give one. I see that Rob Wright is in attendance tonight. Rob, you mentioned you would wish to formally speak in favor of the proposal. Just again, for the public record, could we jot down your full name and your address, please?
Sure. So it's Rob Wright. So my address is 9667 County Road 18. I'm
Please,
in the north part of the township. So I am very much in favor. I've always been in favor of this. I think it's an excellent opportunity for the Augusta Township to shine and demonstrate its ability for progression within the surrounding communities, as well as a chance to provide a local destination in like today's climate with the staycation atmosphere. It gives the opportunity to keep people close at home. And it looks like there's some very nice, inspiring changes that are being done to accommodate things such as medical services and drive-in theater and such. So it's nice to see that there are positive changes, that it is still developing. I just hope that it continues to go forward, and I look forward to seeing it.
Thank you, Rob, for your comments tonight. We'll just give another opportunity here. Is there anyone here in attendance at the meeting tonight that would wish to speak formally in favor of the proposal? I'll just keep an eye here on the chat box. I see another hand has gone up. Robin Yando, the floor is yours. There's a little microphone icon at the top of the screen. If you click that to unmute yourself, feel free to speak. We'll just ask for your first and last name and address, please.
Hi, it's actually Michelle Nell. I'm a homeowner in Maynard in 10 Broad Street. I am in absolute support, and everything that was just said, I completely would ditto for myself. I find it exciting and progressive, and I would be extremely disappointed, more so than I could say, if this did not go through. I am in absolute support, and anything that's needed, I'm here to help this move forward.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for your comments tonight. We've had two so far formally registered to speak in favor of the proposal. Just offering another call here. Is there anyone else in attendance tonight that would wish to speak formally in favor of the proposal? I'm going to just check for any hands that may be up. I'll check just checking the chat box here as well. All right, so we'll go ahead with our two. At this point, just going to share the screen here very, very briefly. Just to flip back to the PowerPoint, and next slide here. I want to provide an opportunity for individuals that would wish to speak formally against the proposal. And very similar idea here. Please raise your hand if you wish to speak against the proposal. We'll give everybody an opportunity that wishes to do that to speak. And again, when invited to have your turn to speak, for the public record, if you would just please state your full name and municipal address, that would be really helpful for contact and tracking purposes, etc. So I've stopped sharing my screen, and if there's anyone that would wish to speak formally against the proposal, just keeping an eye on the chat box here, and for any hands that may be raised. Just going to put one final call out then. Is there anyone in attendance this evening that would wish to speak formally against the amended rezoning proposal that we have discussed this evening? Once again, just checking the list of attendees for hands. I'm not seeing any hands on the video. I am not seeing anything in the chat box either. So thank you very much for that section of the meeting. At this point, we would be pretty well at the close of our meeting. I'm going to just share content and flip to that last slide there. We're pretty much at the point where we would be thanking everyone for attending. But just before we close the meeting, we'll offer an opportunity here if there's anyone that may wish to ask a question of any form while we have the developer and planners in attendance. Just keep an eye on the chat box here. Anyone wishing to ask any final questions here just before we close out the meeting? And I'm not seeing any. So with that, thank you very much, everyone, for attending tonight's meeting. Thank you very much to everyone for participating in the public process. Again, anyone wishing to be part of or attend the council meeting, that will be likely to be coming up, particularly in light of the feedback we've received this evening, likely to be coming up Monday evening, Monday, September 14th, and that meeting would be starting at 6:30 p.m. If you would wish to participate in that meeting via Microsoft Teams, you may feel free to contact myself again, or contact our clerk, Annette Simonian, Simonian, which is spelled ASIMONIAN at augusta.ca. And there will be, relating to this, the appeal hearing that's ongoing by the local planning appeal tribunal that's leading that. That will be happening on September 30th. It is open to individuals that may wish to sit and observe. That will be held via the Go-To meeting application. We've held this via Microsoft Teams. The LPAT session will be held via Go-To meeting. If you'd like any details about that, again, feel free to contact myself. You would have received the email from me, but for anybody that may be joining on someone else's computer, it would be my first initial and last name at augusta.ca. That would be MBELEJ, or M, B as in boy, E as in elephant, L as in Larry, E as in elephant, J as in Jack at augusta.ca. Thank you very much for attending tonight, everyone. Have an excellent evening, and for those of you that are on the roads tonight, have a safe drive home. Thanks very much.
Thank you.